In 1519, Leonardo da Vinci died with thousands of notebook pages filled with impossible machines, flying vehicles, submarines, robots, inventions centuries ahead of their time, sketched in his characteristic mirror writing, detailed with a precision that still amazes engineers today. But historians found something they couldn't explain. Among the anatomical studies and mechanical designs, there were sketches that seemed wrong, too advanced, too systematic. City plans with infrastructure concepts that wouldn't exist for 500 years. Water systems that anticipated problems Leonardo's era didn't yet face. Buildings designed for climates his world hadn't experienced. What if Leonardo didn't just invent for his time? What if he was designing for the future? The year is 2077. Climate crisis has reshaped coastlines. Resource depletion threatens billions. Traditional cities crumble under the weight of their own inefficiency. And the one man who might solve these problems has been dead for 558 years. Leonardo da Vinci stands before a massive blank canvas. But this canvas is digital, holographic, spanning an entire room. His Renaissance robes look anachronistic against the glowing blue interface. Yet his eyes show no confusion. Only focus, the same focus he brought to dissecting cadavers, to studying bird flight, to understanding how water moves through channels. The problem presented to him is simple in statement, catastrophic in scale. Design a city for 1 million people. Make it sustainable for centuries. Account for climate extremes, resource scarcity, and the essential needs of human life. Do what modern architects have failed to accomplish. He begins not with buildings, but with water. Leonardo's obsession with hydraulics was legendary in his own time. He spent years studying how rivers flow, how currents form, how water seeks its level and carves its path through resistance. In 2077, that obsession becomes salvation. His hands move across the holographic interface, sketching with the same fluid motions he used with quill and ink. But now, each line becomes a three-dimensional channel, a pipe, a purification system. He designs the city's water infrastructure as if it were a living organism's circulatory system. Every building becomes a node in this network. Rainwater collection systems crown each structure, designed with the same elegance he once applied to cathedral domes. The water flows through a series of filtration stages, each inspired by natural processes he observed centuries ago. Sand and gravel filtration, mimicking riverbed purification. Aquatic plant systems that clean while they grow. Even the building materials themselves act as filters, their surfaces treated with compounds that break down pollutants. But Leonardo sees further. He designs for drought and for deluge. Underground cisterns connect throughout the city like a subterranean lake system, storing surplus for scarcity. When floods threaten, channels open automatically, redirecting water to these reserves rather than allowing destruction. Every drop is captured, cleaned, used, cleaned again, and returned to the cycle. The hologram shows his complete vision, a closed-loop system where water scarcity becomes impossible, where the city drinks and breathes with the efficiency of a healthy body. Modern engineers watching this design realize they've been thinking too small. Leonardo thinks in systems, in cycles, in the eternal return he observed in nature. He moves next to architecture itself, and here his botanical studies become revolutionary. In his original notebooks, Leonardo filled pages with observations of how leaves arrange themselves to maximize sunlight, how tree bark regulates temperature, how plant roots create stable foundations in unstable soil. Now, he applies these principles to buildings that must house millions while consuming minimal resources. His structures grow upward and outward in spirals, mimicking the golden ratio he observed in nautilus shells and plant growth. This isn't aesthetic choice. The spiral design maximizes interior space while minimizing external surface area, reducing the energy needed for climate control. Each building's facade is living, covered in vertical gardens that aren't decoration, but functional organs of the structure. These green walls do what mechanical systems cannot. They regulate temperature through natural evaporation. They filter air pollutants through biological processes. They produce food and medicine. They adapt to seasons, growing dense in summer for shade, thinning in winter to allow warming sunlight. Leonardo designs them with specific plant species for specific building faces, accounting for sun angle, wind patterns, even the building's purpose. The roots of these plants don't just anchor in shallow soil. They penetrate the building's structure, integrated with a mycelium network that he designs to span the entire city. This fungal internet, as modern scientists might call it, connects every building's ecosystem. When one structure has excess nutrients, the network redistributes. When another needs pest control, natural signals flow through the mycorrhizal highways. But Leonardo's buildings do more than self-regulate. They generate. Solar collection surfaces integrate seamlessly with the living facades. Positioned using calculations he performs with the same mathematical precision he once applied to perfect perspective in paintings. Wind turbines emerge from the spiral architecture. Their design inspired by his studies of bird wing aerodynamics and maple seed rotation. He even taps into the Earth itself, geothermal systems, which he conceptualizes as harnessing the planet's inner fire, provide baseline power and heating. His design shows vertical shafts descending deep into bedrock, filled with fluid that cycles continuously, carrying heat or coolness as seasons demand. The energy systems aren't centralized. Each building is a power generator, producing more than it consumes. The excess flows into the city's grid, which Leonardo designs with the same redundancy he built into his mechanical designs. If one section fails, power routes around it like blood flowing past a clot. His attention turns to the human element. A city isn't just infrastructure, it's people. And people need more than survival. They need community, purpose, beauty. Leonardo designs the city's layout to encourage human connection while respecting personal space. Wide pedestrian boulevards spiral from the center. Lined with trees he specifies by species for their shade, their seasonal beauty, their fruit. These aren't streets. They're public living rooms, places where people naturally gather. Cars have no place in Leonardo's vision. He designs a multi-tiered transportation system that moves people efficiently without dominating the landscape. Underground, high-speed transit connects major nodes. At street level, human-powered vehicles and walking. Above, a network of suspended pathways for those who need rapid transit without descending underground. Each level serves its purpose without interfering with the others. The vertical separation creates something unexpected. The ground level becomes almost entirely pedestrian, filled with parks, markets, performance spaces. Without cars, without the noise and danger of motorized traffic, children play freely. Elderly citizens move without fear. Street vendors and artists claim spaces that would otherwise be roadway. Leonardo places medical facilities not as isolated hospitals, but as integrated wellness centers throughout the residential areas. His understanding of human anatomy informs their design. He knows that prevention surpasses cure, that proximity matters, that healing requires more than medicine. These health centers incorporate his observations about the importance of sunlight, fresh air, and natural settings for recovery. Each includes gardens where patients can walk, water features whose sound promotes calm, spaces designed with the proportions he determined most pleasing to human perception. The facilities offer not just emergency care but education, preventive screening, mental health support. He applies his artist's understanding of human psychology to the city's social design. Public spaces include areas for music, for painting, for sculpture. Not as afterthoughts, but as essential infrastructure. He knows creativity isn't luxury, it's necessity for human well-being. Large halls with perfect acoustics, positioned using his studies of sound reflection and resonance, serve as community gathering spaces. Workshops with north-facing windows provide ideal light for artists and craftspeople. Open studios line the pedestrian boulevards, allowing passers-by to watch creation in progress, blurring the line between artist and audience. The food system Leonardo designs might be his most revolutionary concept. He approaches agriculture as he approaches everything else, through observation of natural efficiency. Vertical farms rise throughout the city, but these aren't simple stacked growing platforms. Leonardo designs them as integrated ecosystems. Fish tanks occupy lower levels, their waste feeding hydroponic plants above. Those plants clean the water, which returns to the fish. Insects bred in controlled environments pollinate crops and provide protein-rich feed for the fish and chickens that occupy mid-level sections. He calculates the space needed to feed 1 million people, then designs to produce double that. The surplus isn't waste. It's insurance against crop failure, natural disaster, supply chain disruption. It's also trade goods, allowing the city economic independence. The vertical farms aren't isolated from the buildings they inhabit. Heat from decomposition warms adjacent living spaces in winter. The plant's evapotranspiration cools in summer. Carbon dioxide from human respiration enriches the growing environments. The integration is total, each system supporting the others. But Leonardo hasn't forgotten the ground. Between buildings, on rooftops, in every available space, he plants traditional gardens. Not just for food, but for the human soul's requirement for green, growing things. He knows from his own experience that touching soil, watching plants grow, harvesting food you've tended creates satisfaction that no artificial system can replicate. The waste management system he designs would be called circular economy in modern terms, but Leonardo thinks of it as simply logical. Nature wastes nothing. Every output becomes another system's input. Organic waste from the vertical farms and households doesn't go to landfills. It feeds massive composting systems that Leonardo designs with carefully controlled temperature and oxygen levels. The resulting compost returns to the gardens and farms. The heat from decomposition generates power. The methane produced feeds the city's backup energy systems. Non-organic waste follows similar principles. He designs sorting facilities that separate materials with precision his mechanical mind makes possible. Metals return to forges. Plastics break down into base components for remanufacturing. Glass melts and reforms. Nothing is garbage. Everything is resource awaiting transformation. Even sewage, which most cities treat as contamination to be processed and discarded, Leonardo sees as potential. His system separates solid and liquid waste, processes each appropriately, and outputs clean water and nutrient-rich fertilizer. The taboo against using human waste in agriculture doesn't exist in his practical Renaissance mind. Properly processed, it's simply nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Plants don't care about origin. The transportation network he designs shows his mechanical genius fully engaged. He thinks in 3 dimensions, in efficiency of movement, in the optimal path between points. The underground transit system runs on magnetic levitation, a technology that would fascinate him with its use of invisible forces. His sketches show the stations as architectural marvels, not dingy tunnels, but spaces flooded with natural light through precisely angled mirrors and light wells. Art decorates every platform, rotation ensuring constant freshness. Above ground, his system prioritizes human power. Bicycles, but enhanced with his mechanical understanding. Each bike connects to a network that captures the kinetic energy of braking and downhill travel, storing it for assistance on uphills. Riders contribute to the city's power grid with every pedal stroke. Exercise becomes civic duty, becomes personal benefit. The suspended pathways overhead serve emergency vehicles, rapid transit pods that move on tracks. His mind designs for minimal friction and maximum safety. These paths double as green corridors, their support structures wrapped in climbing plants, creating aerial gardens that provide cooling shade to the streets below. He even designs for the air itself. Massive towers rise at strategic points throughout the city, but they aren't buildings. They're vertical forests, structures whose only purpose is supporting trees and plants at multiple heights. These biotowers pull carbon from the air, release oxygen, create microclimates that moderate temperature. The food system Leonardo designs might be his most revolutionary concept. He approaches agriculture as he approaches everything else. Through observation of natural efficiency, vertical farms rise throughout the city. But these aren't simple stacked growing platforms. The towers serve another purpose Leonardo understands from his studies of human psychology. They're beauty for beauty's sake, spires of living green visible from anywhere in the city, reminding residents that nature isn't something visited on weekends, but integrated into daily life. As his design reaches completion, the holographic display shows the full scope of his vision, a city that functions like a forest ecosystem, multiple interconnected systems, each supporting the others, resilient through redundancy, sustainable through cycles that return everything to use. Modern observers studying his design realize something profound. Leonardo hasn't just solved technical problems. He's created something that addresses human needs at every level. Physical health through clean water and air, abundant food, easy movement. Mental health through beauty, nature, community spaces. Economic health through local production and circular resource use. Social health through design that encourages interaction while respecting privacy. The city he designs for 2077 could be built today, or could have been built in 1519 if the materials and understanding had existed. The principles are timeless because they're based on observation of systems that have worked for millions of years. Nature's designs translated into human habitat. Leonardo steps back from the holographic display, studying his creation with the critical eye he once turned on the Mona Lisa's smile. Is the water system truly closed loop? Do the energy flows balance across all seasons? Will people actually enjoy living here? Or has he created an efficient prison? He makes adjustments, adds a plaza here, enlarges windows there, increases the number of music venues, ensures every residential cluster has access to quiet green space within 5 minutes walk. The technical solutions are brilliant, but livability requires more. It requires understanding that humans aren't machines to be housed efficiently, but souls requiring beauty, connection, purpose. The final design satisfies him, not because it's perfect. Leonardo, who never finished the Mona Lisa because he could always improve it, knows perfection is asymptotic, but it's sound. It's based on principles that have sustained life on Earth for eons. It respects both human nature and nature itself. What makes his 2077 city remarkable isn't just its sustainability or efficiency. It's that someone from 1519 could walk its streets and feel immediately at home. The scale is human. The materials, despite their advanced properties, look natural. The layout follows patterns humans instinctively understand because they mirror natural forms. This is Leonardo's genius. He doesn't just solve problems with clever engineering. He integrates solutions so thoroughly that they become invisible, natural, obvious in retrospect. Of course, buildings should regulate their own temperature like trees do. Of course, water should cycle endlessly like it does in nature. Of course, food should grow where people live. Of course, beauty should be everywhere. The year is 2077, and Leonardo da Vinci's city rises from the holographic display. Not as a fantasy, but as a blueprint. Every system has been calculated, every material specified, every social need addressed. It awaits only the will to build it. But perhaps the most important element of his design isn't visible in the plans. It's the philosophy underlying every choice. That technology should serve human flourishing, not replace human connection. That efficiency means working with nature, not against it. That a city's success isn't measured in economics or density, but in whether its people are healthy, creative, and content. Leonardo closes the holographic display, and his design compresses into a single glowing sphere. 500 years of observation, study, and genius condensed into a vision of what cities could become. Not dystopian towers of steel and glass. Not rural villages pretending technology doesn't exist. But integrated ecosystems where human genius and natural wisdom work together. The sphere containing his design floats in the empty room, pulsing with potential. A gift from the past to the future. A reminder that the greatest innovations often come from those who study nature deeply enough to understand its lessons. Leonardo da Vinci died in 1519, but his ideas, born from tireless observation and multidisciplinary thinking, remain as relevant to 2077 as they were to his own time. Perhaps more so, as humanity faces challenges that threaten its future. The solutions may lie not in new technology alone, but in the timeless principles a Renaissance genius understood. Observe nature, respect cycles, integrate systems, serve human needs, never stop learning. The city he designed for 2077 awaits construction, not just as buildings and infrastructure, but as a philosophy of living. One where human civilization and planetary health aren't opposites but partners. Where cities don't extract and consume but cycle and regenerate. Where technology amplifies human potential rather than replacing human experience. 500 years after his death, Leonardo da Vinci shows us the future. And surprisingly, it looks a lot like the patterns he observed in nature half a millennium ago. Cycles, integration, balance, beauty serving function, function creating beauty. Perhaps that's the ultimate lesson. The future isn't about abandoning the past or the natural world. It's about understanding both deeply enough to create something new that honors both. Leonardo understood this in his bones. His notebooks weren't just inventions. They were love letters to observation, to curiosity, to the endless fascinating complexity of the world. The holographic sphere containing his 2077 city design continues to pulse with light, waiting for builders brave enough to construct it, waiting for a world ready to learn from a man 5 centuries gone, waiting to prove that genius transcends time and wisdom never expires.